Welcome to another edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. This is, a unique podcast most every week where we kind of get in a more in-depth conversation about one topic with one guest. Bubba, because if you're going to be in our business these days, you must have a standalone podcast.
You must.
Yes. And
because everyone has a podcast.
Yes, we do.
And I mean everybody.
And as professors handing out degrees in common sense from Rick and Bubba University, our student today, Chad Slade. Chad is a former New York Giant. Also played at a very high level at Auburn University, was on the 2010 national championship team, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that whole story. So first of all, Bubba, let's say hello to Chad Slade. Chad, welcome to Rick and Bubba University. Hey, Chad.
Hey, how y'all doing? Thank y'all for having me.
Let's go, Chad.
Chad, we want to cover a wide range of topics with you, so we want to dive right in.
Yeah.
You play football at Moody High School.
Mm-hmm.
When did you think I can play at the next level, and when did you start getting recruited? How did that work?
So I had a coach, Matt Glover, at the time, and he at the time I was a D lineman, and I didn't know really much about football. I didn't know what my next thing was, and he comes up to me one day at practice and was like, "Hey, you want to play college football?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, why not?" And he's like, "We're moving you to O-line." So after I moved to O-line, then offers started coming in. I ended up getting my first offer when I was in the summer. I got it from Mississippi State. Went to a few camps and ended up getting my dream offer, Auburn University, and I took it in. So that was like as soon as I got that one, I committed there. I was loyal. That was it for me. I think that was the best thing that's happened to me.
So I guess the recruiter, and I don't know who recruited you, came to the school. And I mean, how excited were you when you saw somebody wearing the logo of a school? Obviously, you wanted to attend, that they're coming to talk football with you.
It was amazing because, I mean, my school, we're not really, now we are pretty big on it, but we wasn't really big on being recruited back then. So this was like a first thing for everybody. Everybody was going crazy. I think the person that was recruiting me at the time was Trooper Taylor. So you know how Trooper Taylor was. He had all the energy in the world. He had everything. So, like, everybody was so excited to see him. And, it was just a blessing to know that, it was up here for me and seeing all these coaches come in. And it's no better feeling than, the office calling your name and, like, hey, you got a college coach coming to see you today. So
you go and sign with Auburn, you get to college. Tell us about that transition. Was that more or less? How did you see that transition from Moody to the SEC? It's got to be a big jump.
Yeah, it was a really, really big jump. It was, coming from a school that's, not really, nobody really knows where Moody is. Because everybody asked me all the time, like, where's Moody? And I was like, if you know who Charles Barkley is, we're the town next to him, 20 minutes, 5 minutes down the road. That's where we are. And honestly, it was a big transition for me, especially getting there. I had one of the meanest strength and conditioning coaches, but I love him to death, Coach Kevin Yawks. So, he gave me a welcome to the SEC kind of a workouts when we first got there. And, at that time, I was the mama's boy, so I used to call Mom. I was like, Mom, this is hard. I don't know if I can do this. And she was like, you're going to do it. You're going to love it. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think I had a pretty good freshman year that year.
So what did your first workout look like? Since you mentioned that, what was it like?
So this is what they did to us. They took us to Camp War Eagle. They fed us really good. They gave us pizza. They gave us, all this variety of food. And we get back and, we're like, this is our first workout. Our first workout was 4 full gashers. I think we had half gaseous wells, and like people were just passing out left and right, cramping up, just throwing up. It was most one of the, like, it was like a horrific time right there. I mean, if anybody could record that time back in the day, it would have been a good thing to see for them. But it was a big clear entertainment. But it was a big transition for me, and I think it made me the man I am today.
Yeah, having a dad who coached college football, and then my son actually played when you played. Y'all were in the same era for a big portion of that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But, there is all schools do it, but what they normally do, they'll go out and really offer more than they really have. Because they know there's going to be some that just can't take it, that they can't hack it. And so there is an attitude when you first get there of let's weed out who really shouldn't be here. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about, because they realize there's some people that are going to be replaced by the new class. There's some people in the new class that maybe They look good at the high school level, but they can't really take this. Let's find out. Yeah. So, that first part is really a check to see if you really want to be here and if you can hack it. And the thing that, and I'm sure we'll talk about this as you go up the levels, when you're a good player in high school, for you, you'd be facing defense. I play defense because that's where the athletes are. Mm-hmm. But I remember playing defensive line. Out of the 5 offensive linemen, 2 of them might be good. Mm-hmm. When you were playing offensive line, out of the defensive line, 1 or 2 might be good. I'm sure it's the same thing. Yeah. But when you take that next step, there is nobody that you're facing that isn't any good. It's just what level of good, but they're all good. Was that a did that become apparent pretty quick?
Yeah, that came like at the end of the day, like when you come in, like you have to realize people go based off of stars, like, oh, I'm a 5-star, I'm a 4-star, I'm this and that. Coming in, I was a 3-star, but once you sign that paper and you enter those doors, everybody's a 5-star, everybody's a 3-star. It doesn't matter about your stars at that moment. I mean, my first welcome to moment, I can remember back in the summer we were practicing, having like a player on practice, and I got bull rushed by Nick Farrell. I'm just getting into the college world. I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to get better, trying to make them better. And I think me doing that and showing them that, my mindset was a lot different from the other mindsets because, most of those people in my class, I came in, it was #1 recruiting class, of course, and, you had Cam, you had Brandon Mosley and all that. My job was to come in there and try to get me a job myself. Yeah. So I had that mindset, like I have to outwork everybody and, try to, do what I have to do to get on the field. And I was actually blessed to be, with Blake and everybody like that. And, I was the only freshman that got to travel that year. So, after that, I went to literally all the games, got to dress out in the national championship game. It was probably the most, amazing thing. Like I've told y'all, it was the amazing atmosphere to be around. So
I was Blake was talking about that, and he was telling me about you, and he said that the problem that you had from the veterans, and he said and they didn't understand. He said you and he were going all in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking about full speed all the time. Yeah. And he said the veterans would get on us and say, quit trying to be a hero. And he said, I just looked at them and said, y'all got a job. We don't have one. Exactly. We're trying to get a job. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So this is our chance. So I'm sorry. We can't turn it down because they watching us right now. Mm-hmm. But the veterans a lot of times would be like, look, ease up. Mm-hmm. And Blake would say, well, Chad and I, we couldn't ease up because we was trying to get on the field.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, like, you have to realize, like, we're trying to get y'all ready for a game. I mean, I had to learn that once my years started going back and I started getting more years. I was like, hey, that hard-working, scout team member right there, he was busting his butt. But at the end of the day, he made Saturdays a lot easier for me to get out there and go do what I do. So I applaud. I mean, of course, you're going to have your people that's going to go hard and you're going to get mad and all that. But you have to realize, like, they're trying to get you better and, sometimes I would go to games and it would be a lot easier than how I was at practice because of how that guy was giving me a look. Yeah. And I think we took so much advantage of. That's when me and Blake had so much embedded in our minds that we were going to make it and get out there, and that's what we did, and we was going to go to the hardest.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I mean, when you can go to college, that's a big accomplishment. But when you go into a premier conference like the SEC, and you prove that you can be a small number of people, a small number gets a chance. Even a smaller number actually stays, and even a smaller number finds their way onto the field. Mm-hmm. And y'all accomplish that. Yes. And that's a very small group of people at a very high level. But I want to ask you about Cam because I tell this funny story, and you were part of it. Because you came there after Blake had already been there 1 year. It was Blake's second year there. It was your first year. Yep. And he was a redshirt freshman. You were a true freshman, right? That's if I remember that right.
Correct.
So they had the FCA banquet the year you came and his second year when Cam came to the team. Well, we'd only seen Cam in A-Day, so I didn't know anything about Cam. And honestly, in A-Day, he didn't really show out that much. They kind of held him back. And so we're at the FCA banquet, and, of course, Blake has – younger brothers. And so we were there, and they give us the Auburn football, And so he tells his younger brothers, he says, you see that really tall guy over there? And they said, yeah. He said, go get him to sign your football. And I said, well, who was that? He said, that's Cam Newton. And I said, I saw A-Day. I said, who's the quarterback going to be? Y'all don't really have a quarterback. He goes, what? And I said, well, who's the quarterback?
Well, they were saying they had a quarterback controversy.
Right.
They always
and he looked at me, he said, Dad, we don't have a quarterback controversy. He said, wait till you see that guy play. And I said, really? And I remember the line that he said. his brothers came back and they said, hang on to that football. The first time he gets pressured and he gets out of trouble, he said, then everything's going to change. And so, sure enough, we see the first time he takes off. Yeah. And I thought, it looked like that guy in the pickup game in your neighborhood. That you remember that guy in your neighborhood that couldn't nobody play with? Yeah. And he really could do whatever he wanted to. And he's doing this at a high level of football. And after the game, Blake was like, I told you we didn't have a quarterback controversy. I said, no, you really don't. and then, of course, we won the Heisman. His little brothers ran and found the ball and brought it. Now it's up at the house, But that was good to have a big brother on the inside.
Absolutely.
Before all the lines started forming in front of him. Yeah. Because you couldn't get him to sign it after he became a star.
At all. Chad, that had to be cool first year in and you're on a national championship team, but there were several games during that year that looked like it was going to derail everything. Do you remember some of those and thinking, oh man, this is
Kentucky? Kentucky was a big one. I think
Clemson, didn't it?
Clemson was close. We went to overtime with them.
They missed an extra point, didn't they?
They missed the extra point. I think it was in overtime or they missed a field goal in overtime, and we ended up taking that game. Kentucky was a close one. I think that was a 31-34 game.
Yeah.
The one I remember the most was that Georgia game when people were coming for Cam and, they didn't know, we didn't know if he was going to play or if he was going to dress out or anything like that. So, that was the most, those are games like that. And, of course, the Tuscaloosa game, the Bama game, of course, that was a big one. And,
the Cam back.
Yeah, the Cam back. Yeah, but then we went to the SEC championship game and did what we had to do against a very good, very, very, very good defense. So, and a very
South Carolina. But
South Carolina.
You got best I remember. You won that game by 2-3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was
going away by then.
It was a close game in the regular season too, and then we met them again and pretty much just dominated them after that.
Yeah, in the SEC championship, parents that were parents of Chad and Blake. Blake was playing on special teams then and was back up, and then Chad was backing up. But yeah, y'all got up on South Carolina where y'all went in and put together a touchdown drive. The backups came in and went down the field, and I think Fanning scored behind y'all or whatever. Yeah. And so that, of course, you don't forget that when you're a parent of backups and special team guys, because the fact y'all got on the field and got to play so much of that SEC championship game, that was actually cool.
Yeah, it was real cool. I mean, it was nothing like just being on the field during that time. And I mean, at the end of the day, we knew where we were going to the next game. So just being able to get that that publicity out there and being able to see you and get ready for next year, because that those it was 5 seniors. So I think it was 4 seniors on the line. Yeah, Brandon Moser was a junior, but it was 4 seniors on the line. So you knew you have an opportunity next year. So you're up. It's the next man up mentality after that. So you just got to hope that you can get back to where you were, get back into on this field and being where you were.
Well, you definitely did take advantage of it. We'll come back and we'll jump into that. We'll talk about being part of a national championship team and then the rest of the time at Auburn and then going to the next level, which is
another jump,
even a bigger step. When Rick and Bubba University, the podcast continues.
This is the Rick and Bubba Show. Watch more at blazetv.com/Rick and Bubba.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.
So Chad Slade is our guest on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. He played in the SEC for Auburn, was part of the 2010 national championship team, went on to play with you were actually picked up by the Houston Texans, but then went on to the Giants, which we'll get into a little bit later, where you played 3 seasons. So you guys are on the 2010 team. You go to the national championship, and you take that trip. Are you thinking as a freshman, man, did I make the right decision or what? I mean, your first season, you're on the team that not only goes and wins the national championship for a school that, frankly, had not won one since the 50s. So what was that experience like?
It was a big experience. I mean, because I'm, like I said, I came from a small town, so you just never expect the journey that I went through to, get to the spot I am today. I was very blessed to be in that situation. Just being on that plane and knowing that, hey, we're about to be the only game on TV that day, which is seen by everybody in the world, and I'm going to be the person that's going to be dressing out and, a chance to play in the game and just be out there. It was just amazing to me. I've never, took everything for granted. I loved every single second of being out there with them. It was very hard being out there in Arizona trying to do the Oregon offense, but I mean, I think we got through it, and I think we made it through. So we're still alive to this day. But I didn't think offense can go that fast, and
they were blazing. So you win a national championship. You have high hopes for the team. You come back the next year. I think the team went 8-4, maybe. Cam leaves for the NFL, first pick. And then things kind of started falling apart.
Yeah.
And we've talked with Coach Chizik about this too. Was it 2 years after the national championship that Auburn didn't win a SEC game?
Yeah, in 2012.
And what do you think happened with that? You were there.
Yeah.
What happened, and
Boy,
how did you go from penthouse to outhouse so quick?
Yeah, and what was that like as a player? Because you're working just as hard
Yeah.
for on that season. Now you're starting. So what happened?
We was just it was just a lot of things. We wasn't, as close as a team. I think the locker room wasn't as close. It just wasn't feel like how Auburn usually felt. Like I felt how winning felt in Auburn. I know how it is, and I know what it does to take to get there because I've seen it before, and I've seen older guys that I've came, Zimba, Ice, Mike Berry, all them, Ryan Pugh, and it just wasn't. It didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like Auburn. It didn't. I don't think we were having fun. I don't think we were, going out there each and every day to play for each other. I think we were going out there to play just for stats and try to get to the league at that point. But at the end of the day, when I was really, really hurt about everything because, at the end of the day, like I love Chizik and, that's my guy. He's the guy that recruited me. He's the guy that brought me in. And I hate that year was the year that we had to, let him go that year. And, that was tough on me because that's the guy that brought me in. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, what's next? Like, I don't know who's going to come in. Is he going to like me?
Right.
Like, I don't know what to do. And luckily and blissfully, I got Malzahn.
Right.
And that helped me out so much because at the end of the day, I knew everything about Malzahn. He was the one that brought me in as well.
Yeah.
And it was just tough. That year was just really, really tough on us. I went, it was really hard.
Well, and Bubba and I have talked about it because, me having a son on the team, I was involved in all that. It looked like that when Malzahn left as offensive coordinator, that maybe, and I'm a Gene Chizik fan.
Yeah, we love Gene Chizik, the man.
Yeah,
no
he's
doubt.
the one that went and got Blake too. When Blake was getting the same opportunity at Clemson to come in as an invited walk-on, and he went and said, "Hey, man, before you do that, we believe you can play, and we'll give you." Invited walk-on, so you'll be just like the scholarship guys. And then if you earn the scholarship, we'll give it to you. And they did. But so of course, he's going to have a special place in my heart.
absolutely.
But he, it's almost like instead of just bringing in someone that could still run a similar offense, since that's what y'all had recruited for, the offense tried to change so drastically with players that were really recruited to run a Malzahn type offense.
Yeah.
Do you think that played a role?
Yeah, that played a lot of role because at the end of the day, like being in the pro style offense, you have to be big linemen. Like you have to be those Wisconsin, those big giant.
Because you're running between the tackles most of the time.
Yeah, like you're under center, you're running between the tackles. You got to be ready to move guys. Like it's like you're in the huddle now. Like we used to be in a fast paced offense. We're little linemen. I think Blake was like 290.
290.
Yeah, around there. Like we were all like 305. We wasn't built for the pro style offense. We were built for the spread, and we were built to go fast and tempo. And I think that had a lot to do with it because at the end of the day, you bring in an offensive coordinator and it just didn't feel right from everybody. We didn't know what to do. We don't know how to run this situation. We weren't power enough. Yeah, we weren't really strong enough to run this pro style offense. And I think that's what we ran into issues with. And I think we figured that out around Mississippi State because, they knew what we were doing. We had no idea what we were doing. And I remember this play exactly. We was running the outside zone to the left. The guy came up to the line. The linebacker came up on the line and checked the play for us. He came over there and said, check, and he moved to the spot so he knew where the ball was going to end up being at because we made it so obvious because we were literally back at the basics of being at a pro.
Well, had to be pretty vanilla.
Yeah, like we had no idea what we were doing, and it was
a muscle offense. You didn't care if he knew you were going to knock him down anyway, but if you're not designed for that, you're not built for that.
You're not built.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, because you have to be like to run that offense. I've learned you have to be at least like you got to be 330 plus, and you got to be able to move. You got to have road graders, and I think we were built for speed and doing all that. I think that's how our old offense was, even with Trey and Kyle Frazier.
Absolutely,
we were all built for that. And I hate that they made that offense. Kyle's like, oh, Kyle's a bad quarterback, this and that. Like, no, this is not the offense he's built to run. He's built to run the Malzahn offense.
Well, they were so committed to this size thing too, which trying to do it probably, and it probably didn't serve that kid very well that he got threw out there so fast. They bring in the bigger center, and then now they take Blake and move him to tight end. So now they go put on weight. Now they're telling him to take off weight, and now they take him from 290 back down to 240, and then move him out to tight end, then eventually an H-back. And all that was because they were trying to get you guys bigger up front. And, I mean, this, body types. I think Blake, to get to 300 for him was about all you were ever going to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, just the way his body type was. And then he started moving around playing different positions, which was good because he got a lot of snaps. But you could just almost feel the chaos that was there at that time. And it just seemed to finally just have to hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah. It got to the point where everybody was just like, at this point, like we were on curfew. We were, we had all these things that were going on that were not going our way. So once it happened, I think it was kind of like a weight lifted off our shoulders once everything was over with. I mean, I think we lost that last game 49-0. It was bad in Tuscaloosa, and I think that's what. I think that offseason was probably our best offseason I've been since I've been at Auburn, from, people being hungry and, being ready to go. I think everybody's mindset was we got to get back to where we were.
Well, and you
did.
You get Malzahn back. You get back in a familiar scheme. You get back with a quarterback designed to run that, and you turn right around and go back to the national title game.
So that's the thing. Like, we were built for that offense. Like, when Malzahn came in, I was me, Reese, I know Blake. Everybody was really excited about that because we're like, oh, we're back in our groove again. Because I mean, we literally we went a year without it. Now we're back in our groove. I mean, we're little, but we're a little bit stronger because we ran a pro style offense. But
that's true.
Yeah, so we're a little bit stronger and faster at the same time, and now we're pretty much back at home again. So that was a great for us. And I know I enjoyed every single second of that.
And a guy who could absolutely find a hole, Trey Mason.
Yeah, I loved Trey running. I loved having Jay Prosh behind me pulling.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I love having Big Greg on the outside, on the left tackle, because when I used to pull, it used to make me so much easier just to see nobody there. And I'm like, okay, Greg has some taken up somewhere. Yeah, so it's been, and then having Trey, and we had a three-headed monster in the backfield. We had Trey, we had Corey Grant, and Cam Artis-Payne. We had a three-headed monster back there. So, I mean, and then, of course, you had Nick. So,
we ran into, I guess his son played linebacker for Missouri, Rick. We ran into him, I think, in an airport, and he was telling us about Nick.
Wow.
And he said his son said he had never seen anybody who could fake the ball better than that they couldn't find the ball.
And his feet, man, his quickness.
And the thing, because he was so quick, he could delay. Most people will fake and keep moving. He said he was able to fake and stop. And your eyes quit following him when he stops, so you're looking at everybody else, and then he takes off with that speed, and it's too late. You've already lost the race.
Yeah, I tell that all the time. Like, we'll just be blocking a play, and then like we're thinking like, okay, well, maybe the play's over. Then we hear the crowd just go crazy. And then you look on the screen, you see Nick's pretty much halfway down the field, and we're like, okay, well, we're good then. So
we thought he stopped.
Yeah, we thought the play was over with because we're hearing everybody this and this. We're blocking, and you see her go, and then you look up and you see Nick is pretty much about to score by himself, and we're like, okay.
He said his ability to fake the ball, absolutely, the linebackers could not follow where they were, and he did have a very good talent.
Yeah, and then you come up short in the national championship game, so you got to experience winning one and being in one and not winning it, and I know which one you prefer.
Yeah,
but I mean, and really, honestly, taking nothing away from Florida State, they were a great football team. But you have in life, I always talk about there's the coulda ones. Then there's the shoulda ones. Where do you think that one falls?
Honestly, that should have been a should have. I think it's a should have. I tell my wife this all the time because I think, was it the anniversary like 2 or 3 weeks ago? I think that was the first time I watched it, and actually ever, because I've never turned it on.
No.
My son wanted to see it, so I was like, let me watch this. And the stuff that were happening, I was like, we kind of self-inflicted ourselves more than we really let them
It looked like it was about to be a blowout.
Yeah, you were up by 21, I think.
21 to 3, I think, or 21 to 10 going into halftime. And, we came back out, and I think we just let ourselves, I think it was self-deflicting ourselves. I think we wasn't, dropping passes, just missing blocks. And, I mean, that was more on us than it was on Florida State. Now, don't get me wrong, Florida State had a great defensive line. I was going against, I think, Timmy Jernigan. He was a second-round pick for the Eagles. I think I was going against him most of the game. And when I tell you that he was way bigger and stronger, and I think I got the aftermath of all the in and out I ate that week too. So it was it was a struggle being out there in those white uniforms.
We were at that game, and me and my son were talking during that, and Auburn scored to get back ahead toward the end of the game, but left a little too much time.
Yeah.
And I said, if Trey had known, and of course you can't do this.
No.
If he'd have kneeled down on the 1 yard line and ran about 3 more plays, Florida Florida
so hard
State
to
never
do
gets
that.
a chance to win. But, boy, it's a game of inches and seconds, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll come back. Chad Slade's our guest when Rick and Bubba University. The podcast continues. So, Bubba, I know that everybody, for some reason, people love when you and I do Tommy John commercials, and I'm like, what's funny about that?
They're hoping we're going to model them.
Right now,
what it
maybe
is.
that's what it is. But we're dudes, and we
get your
that.
email.
Yeah,
Look, we got you out there.
Sure. Is it weird?
It's a family show, though.
Is it weird to give underwear on Valentine's Day? I'm gonna say no. How about it's weird to give bad underwear, but not great underwear like Tommy John. If you want, for the ladies that are catching this, the men in your life will be so excited if you get them some Tommy John. Sometimes we don't do good at picking out stuff for ourselves that are good for us. And this is how comfortable Tommy John is. They're made so that the underwear will be so comfortable that that you feel cool all the time. You feel like you're just like you have more energy. So right now, if it's not the most comfortable pair of underwear that you have ever worn, Tommy John will refund everything. So
you can't beat that.
So that tells you that they've designed a product they know will do the job. They're soft, they're breathable, and also they have some Valentine's Day pajamas I think you'll love. These are limited editions. 98% of men and women love Valentine gifts from Tommy John. So, yes, ladies, they have products for you too. So, dudes, take a note of that. So, right now, go to TommyJohn.com/Rick Bubba. Just put our names together. TommyJohn.com/Rick Bubba for 20% off. TommyJohn.com/Rick Bubba. See the site for all the details. Chad Slade is our guest. Played at the highest level of football, now entrepreneur, which we'll get into that too. So you have a great career at Auburn. Played in 2 national championship games, won 1, lost 1. Went through some ups and downs with that program at kind of an interesting time in Auburn football history. And now your college career has come to an end. Did you, at that point, were you getting indications that you would get an opportunity to play at the highest level?
I mean, they were coming in. I think I hired an agent. I think that was the thing. I started training, and I didn't know what was my next move. I didn't know if I was going to be drafted. I didn't know what was next for me. But I just grinded it out and worked hard and ended up getting an opportunity for the Houston Texans.
So what is that like? Yeah. Now you've experienced going from Moody High School to the SEC. What about the NFL? How about that job?
Hello.
The NFL is a business. So at the end of the day, like you think that it's all gravy. It looks fun on TV, but at the end of the day, the background of it is a business, and you have to know that you have to come in, and people are really trying to take your livelihood at this point. Like back then, we were just trying to take people's job and trying to get on the field. Now it's pretty much for your life. Like you have to provide for your family. You have to do this and that, and now you have to, you might not have a Kevin Yox or Ryan Russell, Coach Russell to, be on you grinding about 24/7 by working out. Now it's on yourself and now it's on your own terms. So you have to make sure that you're good to go and be ready for, especially, being a rookie, you're going to get the worst end of the stick of everything. So this rookie year is probably, once you get through rookie year, you pretty much, you're pretty much solid through it.
So you hear this all the time, and I know this is, but I love hearing this. So there's something called the speed of the game. Mm-hmm. You leave high school, you go to the SEC, the speed of the game picks up. Mm-hmm. So that's a gap.
Yep.
Tell me about the gap from the SEC to the NFL. Is the SEC so competitive and the athletes so good that the jump wasn't as big as high school to college for the speed of the game in the NFL, or was it a jump or even a bigger jump?
It was a jump. It was a little jump, but I think the SEC will probably be the closest thing that you get to playing in the NFL. I think everybody, you ask anybody, and they'll say that it's more, once you get to the league, it's more not of a physical game, it's more of a mentality game. So like it's of course it's going to always be physical, but it's more of a mental game for everybody. So like you have to be able to study your opponent to an extent that you have to know everything that he's doing, and at the end of the day, he's still studying you, because you have people that you pretty much watched on TV for a long time when you're growing up. Now you got to go against them, and you got to realize that he's more experienced. He's an old head. He's coming in here pretty much for his livelihood. He's been doing this forever, and you're just trying to get to the spot that he is in today. But I think the speed from the SEC to the NFL, I think that's going to be the closest you get, but it's still more faster and it's more physical as well. So,
was there a particular player that once you got on the field, may have been on the team you were playing on or an opponent, where you thought, gosh, I've been watching that guy since I was a kid, and here I am. I'm about to block.
That's got to mess with your mind.
I mean, was there a player that stood out that really hit you like, wow, I'm here in the NFL?
Yeah, it was. I was on the Houston Texans. I came to Houston Texans. Actually, Vince Wilfork was there. So seeing Vince grow up playing with the Patriots and seeing how big he was and how strong he was, I looked at Vince. He was like 6'1". I mean, of course, he looked bigger on TV, but his strength is still his strength. And I've had so many crazy stories about Vince. I think I was on a team with a crazy lineup on defense. I had JJ, Clowney, Whitney Merciless. So those are guys I'm going against practice every single day. So it's like, seeing Vince and trying to go against Vince, blocking Vince, and seeing how strong he was. I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a huge difference. But at the end of the day, like I gotta do what's best for my family. I gotta do it.
But they're savvy too, and they're wily veterans. Savvy. They got tricks.
Yeah, they know. They play dirty. They play dirty. They know everything. Like I've seen. Is
that like trying to push a truck back? I mean, how hard is that?
It's like if you get an inch on him, you win, and that's good enough for you as a lineman because you don't see many linemen actually move this guy. You can't drive him off the ball because all he's a stub.
So you're just trying to position where your back can cut off you, or the quarterback doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah, or that you're just not gonna get drove back by this big 300-pound man. But Vince was probably the most savvy vet I've ever seen, and he was a great person as well. Like he used to always help out us young guys, but he had them days where he'll come to practice. He was like, "Hey, don't touch me," and we're over here looking like, "Hey, you heard what he said, right?" But he's like,
So what he said went.
Yeah, because Vince
he earned it.
Yeah, he earned all that. Like when you see Vince Wilfork, of course he's going to probably be in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be this and that. Vince was the most respected guy probably on the team at the time. So at the end of the day, like you have to respect the old heads. If he tells you not to do nothing, then don't do it because at the end of the day he can do something. He knows in his head that he's more stronger. He can do something to you. So
was there a big difference in the culture off the field? Because we had interviewed Sean Alexander before, and he said, he was so used to in college, hey, let's all go out to eat, let's do that, and he gets in the NFL, and everybody's like, man, I got a family, I'm going home, and he's like, well,
I got to get to my kids' play.
Yeah, I thought it was all going to hang out.
Yeah, it was always like that. I mean, of course,
it's not rah-rah like it is in college and high school.
No, it's not like that. But of course, you have your class that you with your rookie class, and at the end of the day, like you always going to be close together. So y'all always hang out, and then maybe the Thursday before the game, we'll go out and have an O-line dinner, which is at 7. So it gives the old heads time to go home and feed the family, do what they want to do with the family, and then they can come back out. Then after that, as soon as dinner's over, wife is calling them. They got to get back in the house. It's nothing changing. So,
is there? Talk to us a little bit about the difference playing for the Texans versus the Giants.
I mean, you're going to the biggest TV market in the world. I mean, you're going to the city,
and they're under a microscope all the time.
And their fans are not quite Eagles fans, but they're pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, me and my wife, we figured that out the hard way when we went to I think my first New York Giants game. I think we played the Bills, and they were yelling at us on the field. Like they were like, "Hey, y'all suck." And we're like, aren't they our fans? And then it's just crazy. I mean, just being up there.
Wait a minute, we're the Giants.
That's what I'm saying. Like we're the Giants,
you
and
got our jersey on.
Yeah, like you got our number. Like you got Saquon number. Hey, Saquon, you need to run better. Like, okay, coach, we got you. But it's just things like that. I mean, being in Houston, I mean, it was the more of a environment that they wanted you to win. In New York, they always expected to win because of their history. They've played in Super Bowls, they've won Super Bowls, and at the time, I think it was Eli's last year when I first got there. So I got opportunity to see one of the greats play the game, and I think that was that's when I learned like they didn't even care about Eli there. They were like, "Hey, Eli, you suck too," and I'm like, "He's a Hall of Famer." I'm like, what are you? But they didn't care. They just wanted to win, and I understand that coming from seeing fans' standpoint, especially being in New York and in that division, and being at those like Eagles and the Eagles and Giants game, it kind of reminded me of an Alabama Auburn game times 9 of being fans of being drunk and fighting each other, and it's a wild time. It's a very wild time.
All right, we'll come back. We'll finish up with Chad Slade on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.
This is the Rick and Bubba Show. Watch more at blazetv.com/Rick and Bubba.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.
So Chad Slade is here. We talked about he's now in the NFL. Started out with the Texans, now is with the Giants, and we want to get into what you're doing now. We just got a few more minutes, but real quick, and then we'll get into what you're doing now. What was it like to go from Moody, Alabama, to New York, as far as your family and living? Did you live there, or was it just in season only that you would be in New York?
So it was in season only just because of the expense of rent. I think I paid for a 1-bedroom at the time. It was my wife and me and my 2 kids at the time, me and my 2 sons. And I had to pay for a 1-bedroom apartment, which was almost like, I think, $4,000 just for a 1-bedroom apartment. And so I made that. I ended up making back at home, having a house here. And then, I'll go up there for the months and then I'll go spend that time. And then as soon as the season's over with, because it's probably 10 degrees there anyway when the season's done, I'm going straight back home. So it was experience. And then the crazy thing about what people don't realize is when they said we lived in New York, we actually lived in New Jersey. Everything was in Jersey, of course, and
the stadium's there.
Stadium's there, everything. But I lived like right on the water, so you can see the skyline of New York, which was awesome. And then you can, like, me and my wife, if we want to go out to date nights, we'll take the ferry 5 minutes across the water, which was kind of weird because I'm from Moody, Alabama. We don't take boats across the thing just to get to another city. I'm like, I don't do this. Like, I'm from the South. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going here and now I'm going to a restaurant. I was like, can I get some sweet tea? They was like, we only have unsweet. I'm like, okay, well, I want to go home at this point. Yeah. So,
Chad, tell us a little bit about when you knew it was time to hang up football and start the second part of your life. Was that tough for you making that transition? Because all of us who played any kind of sport, you get to that point where you go, I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to focus on other things. How was that transition?
Yeah,
for you?
And those letters, not for long. It really does stand for that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I did a solid 8 years, and I think during that time when I was released, at the time I was going through a lot of things in my mind. I just had my dad pass the month before that, and then I got released. So at that time I was kind of realizing, like, I have to now be that family man. And I think, being 8 years and being away from the family, my kids, I got to watch my kids grow because this is more important. My kids, he's 7 years old now. I got a 7, 3, and a 9-month now, and I got to make sure I'm there for them, and I want to be there for them. And I know that my son, he's missed me a lot. And at the end of the day, I told my wife and I tell my kids all the time, like, y'all important, y'all my priority, and I think it's time for me to, hang it up and do what I have to do and, transition to this next thing in life. And that's when I bought the kolaches.
Yeah, because we always think about, I think I'll start a business, and all people think of kolaches. Now, where in the world did you come up with I'm leaving the game?
I'm glad you made that choice.
I'm glad you did because they're delicious. We have some in here right now. Those you don't know, he has an American kolache. When did you decide? First of all, the restaurant business is extremely tough. And you're trying to, your money's got to last, and hopefully you manage your money well. What made you invest in this product?
It was just something that I thought about since I was in Houston. Because I had my experience just like y'all. I went to it was our rookie experience, and we had to go get kolaches. And at the time we didn't have cars.
Right.
So we had to walk a mile down. And I'm like, if I'm walking a mile for these need to be good. And I literally, and you got to think about, we was in Houston heat, so it's like 120 in the summer.
Oh.
So I tried my first kolache, and now I'm walking back and forth like every other day just to get them. And being a rookie, you have to be the one that always have to get breakfast for the older guys. They always want kolache. So I think in my head, I came back home and I was talking to my mom. We've been talking about this for years, and I was like, I like kolaches. I want to bring one to Birmingham. Is it one like this in Birmingham? And she was like, we looked, we researched, we talked to a lot of people, and they were like, no, it's nothing like this in Birmingham. I mean, they have like your donuts, you have your Heroes, your Shipleys, and all different kind of things, your Krispy Kremes, and this is what we wanted to bring to this. So we looked into it, said, this is what we're going to do. We got to pull the trigger now, because if I don't pull the trigger now, I'm not going to do it. So I think it was a very great investment for me and the family to do it.
So you discovered kolaches being on breakfast runs as a rookie.
As a rookie.
And you're like, man, these veterans like kolaches.
I was like, they love kolaches. Why do y'all like these so much? And then I tried them, and I was like, okay, well, I walk to go get them now if you want me to. So.
Well, and you think about it. I mean, there are some people that do it as a side product, but you at American Kolache, that's all you do, right? That's your main. I'm sure you may do other things, but it's a variety, not just, hey, we do a lot of things and we got one we may have over here. This is a variety of different kinds of kolaches, and we're looking at them. They're the style of them. They're really kind of, it's a different setup. It's
Rick, it's neat to eat
really
because
is.
It's all self-contained. I've always liked kolaches. Chad, I'm glad you did this.
Right.
I'm really glad you did this.
It's so much easier, especially for I
wish you was a little bit closer, and we're going to work on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You need spot number 2.
That's right. We're going to have more locations, but
absolutely.
but you're being smart easing into it. So is American Kolache, are you a franchise? Is that a franchise that you now have got? You're a franchisee. Is that what it is?
Yes. Yes, I'm a franchisee.
Okay.
They're based out of St. Louis.
Okay.
That's where American Kolache is.
Okay.
It's ran by a guy named Russ and Bart. They were really interested about bringing it down here. They just want to, expand it. And, there was a great opportunity here because, nobody's ever had them. Nobody's ever experienced them. And I thought, hey, let's go ahead and just, it was a good deal. It was everything that was in place. It was good. We found a place that was, going to be pretty decent in Vestavia on 31. And after that, we just made the best of it, and and here we are now.
Chad, you also too. You're also doing some high school football coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back
Yes,
at your high school.
I have to ask you about this. Now, you're a lot younger than me, okay? Because, like I say, my son and you were the same age, so I could be your dad. So I got that. So I know the game hasn't changed as much for you as it has for me. I've had people ask me to come back and help coach football, and I say I can't because it's not the game I played on the interior line.
Yeah.
The blocking has changed so much. The way defensive line play has changed so much. Had it changed that much? Is it still pretty much the game when you go back and try to help?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
I don't think I'd be able to do it. I don't know. We didn't zone block. We drove block. We defensive line. We read guards. We didn't play gap control. So I'm not sure that I know enough about how the game's played now.
Yeah, it's more advanced now, but it's still those same techniques.
Okay.
So I kind of go based off of how I coach the kids is based off my old coaches. So like how I was taught from growing up in college, from JB Grimes, Jeff Grimes to when I was in college, and then when I was in the NFL, I have those that have that aspect of as well. It's been very good. It's been very useful, and I think the kids love it. I think we had a pretty great season this year. We was 10
you did.
2.
You really did.
We turned it around. I think it was the best in school history, and I was just glad to be a part of it.
Are you hard nosed?
Yeah, I'm very hard nosed. I'm the type that I'm the I need to get back coach because I'm so competitive. I still have that player in me. So when I see something go wrong, I kind of want to go out there and do it myself. I'm like, look, just let me show you how it's done. Like this is how it's done.
Do the kids realize how lucky they are to have you with your experience?
Yeah, they love me there. They I try to make it so much fun for them because I don't want to be that coach that's always rah yelling at them and all that. I want to have fun. I want to how I play. My coach in the NFL, he wasn't a guy that would yell until he needs to yell.
Right.
That's how I am. Like we're doing good, we're having good days. You talk them up, you encourage them, you keep them going. But like if it's the days that they're being sloppy, they're being lazy, then that's the days you have to get on to them. And then
you're trying to get a response from your player, and if you can get that response by talking to them, fine. If you have to turn it up, fine. If you have to yell, fine. But you're looking for that response. How you act is really decided on by them.
I know.
That's the way I always approach
I tell them too. I go out there and say, "Look, Coach Burgess is standing on the launching pad. I don't want to take off. I really don't want to blast." And I said, "But it's up to y'all whether this fuse gets lit or not. Don't lie to that. Don't make me act that way.
Exactly.
So if we just do it, and I'm like you, and I know you're the same way. I can't stand a sloppy drill. When people being sloppy, hey, everybody out here, it don't matter what kind of talent you got or expertise, everybody can hustle and everybody can do the drill right. I cannot stand a sloppy drill.
Absolutely not. I can't. I like it. If I feel like it's sloppy, I'll start the whole drill back over again.
Oh
like,
yeah, we can't
I'm the
have
type.
no
I'm
sloppy
the type,
drill.
Yeah.
Chad,
I can't do a sloppy, lazy drill.
Since you've played at the highest level, you can. Rick and I have talked about this a lot. The change from drive blocking to more of a zone block was that dictated by defenses and the blitzing that they did and how they were confusing that, or why do you see that more now than you used to?
It's just more of the type of quarterbacks you have too, because you got to remember you have now running quarterbacks or you have a pocket passer. It depends on who you have.
Right.
And now defensive lines are more advanced of their moves. It's not just, coming up and two-hand gapping you and looking for the ball. Now you got to worry about him slanting or them twisting on, run blocks or, just things that you have to, worry about and things. So that's why I try to teach my kids more of an advanced way than I do everybody else because of how I was taught.
Yeah.
Like, this is where we're going to go. We have a landmark to hit, and this is the landmark I want you at, and I promise you that this is going to work because it's proven facts.
Right.
So at the end of the day, like, you just have to go out there, and it's a mind game with the defense. Defense try to play mind games with you all the time, and you have to literally know what you're doing and stay on your track. Just like how we played, I think it was Missouri in 2013. They went from, killing us with blitzes and, coming up the field and doing all that. Then they started slanting. then we started realizing, hey, all we need to do is stay on our tracks. That's it.
Right.
And just keep our technique and stay on our tracks. And next thing you know, Trey's going for 305 yards.
Yeah.
So it's things like that that you know that you have to do against a defense, and you got to know that, you got to play a mind game before they play a mind game with you.
Chad Slade, our guest in this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Continued success with American Kolache.
Yeah, come back and visit with us again, because we enjoy talking to people who've done these things at the highest level. It's very interesting.
And thanks to each and every one of you for joining us on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.